Welcome back to STV News, a platform for action. World Environment Day is the UN's most important day for encouraging worldwide awareness and action for the protection of our environment. Since it began in 1974, it has grown to become a global platform for public outrage that is widely celebrated in over 100 countries. Nigeria's central government recognized the menace with plastic pollution of the oceans and is mulling a ban on plastic bags and also collaborating with states in the management of plastic recycling plants. And so we're going to be having a discussion of this World Environment Day in Lagos and Port Harcourt. We've got two guests with us here. In Lagos, Temitope Okunnu is an environmental activist. Ditch Single Plastic Use is a project she's been working on for the past 10 years. And I was just joking with her that some sort of crowning effort and not just a coincidence that
yes.
World Environment Day is focusing on plastic pollution this year. And in Port Harcourt, we have a guest also. We have Olu Andawai Ogosu, who is a lecturer. He's also an environmentalist, as well as former president of Nigeria Environmental Society. Great to have you join us this morning from Port Harcourt, where we have huge environmental issues we'll talk about during the course of this discussion. Great to have you on the show, sir. Okay, looks like, oh, sorry, it looks like Temitope Okunnu not there yet. We have Otiasa Christian Livingstone, who is an environmentalist and community rights activist. Oluwandawai Ogosu will get to us later on. So we have two guests in Port Harcourt. We'll put our Port Harcourt studio on the break right now. We cross over to Lagos, where we have discussion with Temitope Okunnu. I'm sure that I was talking earlier about plastic pollution and what you think about what we have done as a country. Nigeria's doing a number of things. I understand the plastic bag ban. If we cannot reuse it, then we refuse it.
Yes.
You think there is enough noise about this, or still more of talk and less action?
Yes, I think that's where we are right now. So we don't have action yet, although within my own circle and my community, that's the environmentalists, we are doing our best to beat the plastic pollution, you know, starting from Lagos State. So we have people talking about it. But, and then people acting on it. You know, some people have started recycling. We have started upcycling and doing their bits to curb the plastic menace. So people are doing something, but it's like this. It's still small. Still need a lot.
All right, this year, India is marking this. India is the country that is marking it, so to speak. Of course, other countries are involved, but it chose the theme for this year. Now, does it beat your imagination that for them to talk about beat the use of single-use plastics, does it beat your imagination that it also affects them and is a worldwide menace?
Oh yes, it's a worldwide menace. It affects everybody. I think one of the reasons why the UN has moved it to India is because of the large plastic use in that country. And it's not just India. In Nigeria, you know, we have a lot, especially you know, when the plastic pollution, I mean, the plastic was introduced into the country in the 90s, you know, it was like a new, you know, something we've never seen before, and it was just, everybody wanted it. It was something, in fact, I remember then in the university, my friends would come and, you know, intimidate you with a plastic bottle, like, I got water in the plastic, you know, so I remember very well then. So it's not just India. I think it's just everywhere in the world.
All right. So tell me about, you just mentioned something I was really, let's say, excited about, because in the 70s and the 80s and early 90s, before these plastics came, we were using bottles, that's the glass bottles, or even stainless steels. And then all of a sudden, these plastics came, and why some of us really appreciated it was if you go for events or parties, and they give you a glass of, a glass bottle of beverage. They'll tell you just the contents, you should take another bottle.
Yeah.
And because you need to finish it, you'll be sad that you can't finish it because you can't take the bottle away. But now the plastics have come, you can take the bottles away. If we remove plastics from the society, would it affect our economy? Because a lot of people are into this plastics business, not just the bottles, but also these nylon bags.
There is no doubt that it won't affect the economy. It will, a great deal, because you have so many employment opportunities with the plastic industry. And as, you know, okay, that we have so many opportunities with the plastic industry, so many employment opportunities and all of that. Yes, it's going to affect the economy a great deal. But guess what? When the plastic was introduced into the country, maybe we didn't figure out, its health defects enough, for even not just Nigeria, but all over the world. We just felt it was a very good, convenient, way of, just like the example you made, I can take my contents now with me. Yeah. But with the bottles, you can't. So it's an easy way of living, lifestyle, and all. It's very easy, but no doubt it's going to affect. But guess what? The health implication weighs far more than having the plastic. So I'm sure we can do something about, balancing, especially with lifestyle choices.
Let's cross over to Port Harcourt, where we have Olu Andowai Ogosu, who's an environmentalist, and then let's see what's going on in Port Harcourt with what they're doing, especially in Rivers State, in dealing with plastic pollution, which is a theme for this year's event. A couple of days ago, we had an interview with the governor of Rivers State. We focused on environmental issues and the consequences as it affects people in Rivers State and what the state actors are doing. And then something he said was that you had roles for different players, the roles for the government, roles for civil society, but more importantly, where he thought there was a deficit or a serious compromising of the situation was with the people, what people were doing to compromise the environment. Are you of the opinion that in terms of plastic pollution, a lot of blame has to lie with the people in keeping up with friendly environmental practices?
Thank you for having me. The name, let me make this correction. The name is Otiasa Christian Livingston. Otiasa Christian Livingston. Now, it's a good thing that this year's World Environment Day is focusing on beating plastics. Now, just like your Lagos studio, the person has said, plastics are everywhere. It's a global problem. It's a global menace. It's not a localized one where you will say it's peculiar to Nigeria. Perhaps the difference between Nigeria and other developed and developing countries is to the effect that actions, attitudinal changes, and awareness campaigns are higher by virtue of their developed nature to our mundane situation here. Now, the blame ordinarily should not be on the population. The blame should be more on the government. And why do I say so? It is the government that develops policies. It is the government that are the regulators. It is the government that regulates even the industries that produces these plastics. Plastics by their nature are synthetic materials from a variety of organic polymers. And that if it is not produced, if there is a legislation, for instance, banning its production, the population will not see it to use. If there is a legislation or an advocacy championed by government, assisted by NGOs and others in the whole spectrum of the environmental stakeholders, then you'll see that people will have awareness, they will be enlightened to the danger of using those plastics. They'll be enlightened to alternatives that you will use in place of plastics. They will be used to whatever that is favorably disposed to the environment other than those things that harm the environment. So if the people do not have information, if the people are not guided by the government that is supposed to lead them, probably the people will not have the right information to act on. They will be conducting themselves in their lifestyle, in their consumption patterns, believing that that is the best. The issue of competition between or overreaching the environment by man started a long time. Prior to this time, we felt it is that the environment gives to man what is suitable for him. And at that point, we don't have much problem. But over time, man begins to think that he's a co-creator of God. and therefore he can create and alter the environment, the natural environment, to suit himself through urbanization, industrialization, and all that, land use practices and all that, consumption patterns. That is where the problem of the environment lies. Like now in Port Harcourt, I understand that the government spoke concerning its efforts towards stopping beating plastics. I will, for those who know River State very well, if you're traveling to Bonny, for instance, I'm just giving you a look in one instance. If you're going to Bonny, the waterside, there's a waterside called Bonny Waterside. You will see a lot of plastic floatables. They are offensive to even the aesthetics of the river body there. Now, plastics have different problems that ordinarily man should not even consider using them. The dangers of using plastics far outweigh whatever advantage you can think of. Now, these plastics, when they are used, people don't know what they cause to the environment. Plastics are of different grades. There is one that is called the microplastics, the macroplastics, there is the mesoplastics, there is the microplastics. Now, any plastics with millimeter 20 and above is considered to be a macroplastics. Any one that is between 5 and 20 in millimeters is considered to be mesoplastics, in between. Then any one that is equal to or less than 2 and 5 is considered as microplastics. Now the ones, why I try to identify it this way is because the ones people see most are the ones that are macro. You can easily see them with the eyes. That the ones you cannot see, that can only be observed by the microscope, are the most lethal, the most dangerous ones in the environment. In every facet of the environment, when I mean facet, we should consider the environment to be 6 persons hugging themselves. You know, in every facet of the environment, be it the soil, be it the water, be it the atmosphere, be it in the plants, be it in the animals, and even in the human being, plastic is hazardous, plastic is dangerous.